All right, another episode of Behind the Vineyards. Today we have Eduardo Muga. So, Eduardo, please, hi, how are you? Tell us more about, yourself and what's going on.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for inviting me to talk about Bodegas Muga and our family. So it's a great pleasure to be with you. So yes, I am Eduardo Muga. I am part of the third generation of Bodegas Muga of the Muga family. I am the key co-owner and finance director, and I am also in charge of the Asian market. So in terms of Bodegas Muga, just briefly, so we are a 100% family business. Bodegas Muga was founded by my grandparents in 1932, but before that, as a brand, as the Muga brand, and before that, already in the 19th century, my ancestors, my family, they had already a great experience working in the vineyard, and also from my grandmother's side, experience in the winemaking. So we can say in terms of great growers of viticulture that we are in the fifth generation, and we are still a 100% family business. We share brothers and cousins. We share responsibilities, and yes, we have also very close communication, and we are all very involved in the tasting of the wines throughout all the process.
Wow. Is it very unique as a winery to be fully family owned in this day and age?
I think probably still in Spain, I think there are many family businesses, but it's true that you find less and less family businesses. Okay, because it's generation after generation. You have to keep with the family business, and it's not everybody is capable of is able to keep with the family business. But yes, if I think around us, colleagues around us, there are still some family businesses.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Well, were you always keen in winemaking? Did you always think that, because it's in a family, you have to do this, or was it, naturally interested that?
Well, I think for us, I mean, we grew in a wine culture atmosphere and in a family business culture. So it was very natural for me, for my brothers, for my cousin. We don't see the wine as obviously it's a business, but we also see it as a way of life. Okay, so yes, it is something natural for us. Having said that, each of us, in terms of education, in terms of studies, in terms of previous experience, work experiences we had before joining the family business, each one is different. Okay, so in my case, I also worked in other European countries and in other sectors before joining the family business. I was always involved in the family business. I was in the board of the company, and I was involved in the major company decisions. But I had other experiences, work experiences, and private experiences before joining the family business.
I see. Well, maybe let's dive right into, Muga. So you guys have grapes all over the Rioja region. I think you guys have it in La Loma. That's one of the vineyard areas, the region.
Yes. So yes, in terms of Bodegas Muga, so we are located in Aro, and this is the northern part of Rioja. As a matter of fact, Aro it's a town with great history in terms of the winemaking, and we are in a very unique area called El Barrio de la Estación, where we are 7 wineries with a lot of history of many generations. But to answer to your question, yes, all our grapes are sourced around our area of Aro, and we're in the most northern part of Rioja, very famous for its very fine wines. and we have different locations and different vineyards. All of them, we can say, in a distance within 20 to 25 kilometers. So depending on the wine we want to make, we are going to use different locations, because the beauty of Rioja is that in a matter of few meters or some few distance, you can have different conditions in terms of the soil, in terms of the microclimate, in terms of the sun. So that gives you many possibilities to produce wines with each one with its own character. All of them with something in common, with that kind of Rioja soul and that personality and that elegance. But depending on the wine you are going to produce, you have different locations.
Right. So the terroir adds to the different depth of the flavors of the grapes and the wine. Would you say
Yes,
that?
yes. You for example, you have mentioned one La Loma. It's the name of one of the vineyards. You have El Estepal, you have Baltracones.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if we look at our wine Torre Muga, that one comes from the area village, vineyards around the village called mainly Villalba. If we talk about our Gran Reserva Pradonea, it's more from the area of Sajazarra. If you talk about the Selección Especial, it's vineyards nearby Aro and Oyauri. So each one, because of the different characteristics of those vineyards, gives you the possibility to produce wines with their own personality.
Oh, that's very interesting. Well, coming to the winemaking process, what I understand is Muga does 100% oak barrels, no stainless steel tanks, and you guys use gravity as a process as well in your winemaking.
Yes. So yes, in Muga, the most important, I mean, for the wine, the most important thing, what is critical is the type of grapes you are going to use. You need very quality grapes. We do a great selection. We invest. We prefer to have quality to quantity. So sometimes, some years, we need to sacrifice quantity of grapes for the quality, and that is critical. And to your question, in terms of our winemaking method, Bodegas Muga also has a great reputation, very well known for maintaining traditional aspects of the winemaking. And you mentioned that we have everything, fermentation, storage. We do it in oak, okay? Also, in terms of gravity, you mentioned gravity, and for example, all during the aging of the wine in oak barrels, we decant or we do the racking every 4 to 5 months by gravity, to transfer the wine from one barrel to an empty barrel, and that we do it in a traditional way, which is by gravity, instead of using pumping machines, because we think that could be too aggressive for the wine. Also, another traditional method, is that before bottling, we do a fining with egg white of the wine before the wine, after the aging in oak barrel, and before the wine goes into bottle. And the reason for we like to keep that because of the experience we have from many generations, and we believe that is good for the end result in terms of quality of the wine. So it's not just a tradition because of tradition; it's because we think that's good for the end results we are looking. So we are faithful to those winemaking methods. Each generation, we improve those methods because we do experiment, we do test in certain areas. And also we combine those very traditional winemaking methods. We combine that also with modern technology when we talk, for example, about the vineyard. In terms of monitoring and controlling the vineyard, we use also high technology. In terms of the selection of the grapes, for example, now we are starting the harvest of the 2021, and for the top range, the wines in our top range, we use, for example, grape a sorting table with an optical system that allows us to make a great selection of the grapes using a very advanced technology. So we like to combine both the traditional winemaking methods in the winery, but also if we have to use modern technology because we think it's good for the quality, we are going to use it too.
Okay. Well, how's the 2021 vintage looking?
It's looking it's looking very good.
Oh yeah.
It's been the year. Yes, the year has been it's been quite dry. Okay, we didn't have a lot of rain, but the vineyard is looking very healthy. The grains are quite, not very small grape, small grains. The grape are quite small, but with a very good concentration. So now we have to wait, look at the sky to make sure, hoping that nothing strange is going to happen. But yes, from now when we have started with the harvesting the white grapes, and then in a few days or in some weeks we will start with the red grapes. Okay, and it's quite long. Probably we won't finish until mid to end of October, because we have, depending where the vineyards are located, you are going to have a different timing for the harvesting. That's also quite critical, and that's what I was explaining before, that because Rioja, the landscape and the orography, it changes a bit. It's not a small medium mountain, but you have different conditions, so you have to make sure also you have to be precise in terms of when you are going to make the harvest.
Wow, it's a lot of conditions just for harvesting
Yes.
already. Well, I was watching just an interview with James Suckling and you and your brothers, and you guys were talking about 2018 and 19. I think Prado, there wasn't enough grapes for production. So do you think 2021 it's going to be the full range again?
Yes. Well, yes, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because part of our philosophy is also that the conditions, the climate conditions and the year have to be very good, and we have to be very happy with the quality of the grapes in order to make the full range. Okay, so when I talk about the full range, is to make, for example, I have here the Selección Especial or the Prado Enea or the Terroir Muga or the Aro. There might be years where we are going to focus our efforts only on one wine, which is our Reserva, and that's because of the selection we do of the grapes, but also because those areas where we pick the grapes for certain wines, you need sometimes they are in a very high altitude. They are sometimes in conditions where you need specific conditions to get to the type of grape you want. And if you don't get that specific quality you want, then you won't be producing that wine. And to give you an example, if we look back at the last few years, for example, in the 17, we only produced Reserva. 18 is going to be Reserva and a little bit of Selección Especial, but no Prado Enea, no Terroir Muga, no Aro. And then 19, 20, and hopefully 21 too, we will produce the full range.
Okay, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, exactly. But that's also good. I have here the 2017 Reserva,
oh, yes.
and I think this is the wine that we produce every year. And what is also the Muga Reserva has a great reputation for being very constant in terms
Mhm.
of its quality. And that's also because that even in the years that are that where the climate or the conditions were a little bit more difficult or there was more challenge, we focus all the efforts of all the vineyards from Muga in one single wine, and that makes this wine, very very constant in a high quality.
I see. Well, coming back to, winemaking, Muga is the only vineyard in Spain to actually employ your own master cooperage. So maybe you could share a little bit more. Why is it such a big deal and why the tradition for that?
Okay, so yes, in terms of as far as we know, I mean there might be other wineries having their own cooperage in terms of making some barrels,
Mm.
but in terms of having a master cooper making the oak vats where we're going to do the fermentation and storage, and we produce those in house. Yes, we are at least in Spain. We are the only ones. And also the reason for producing our own barrels nowadays you can buy very nice
Yeah.
and very expensive and good quality barrels, but in our case the reason is that from having the expertise of making the barrel, not only making the barrel but selecting the oak you want for each type of wine, selecting what kind of toast, when you are producing a barrel, you use also a fire that is going to help the barrel maker to produce that barrel, and also is going to give a fire toast, a degree of fire toast to the oak that is going to affect the aromas and the character of the wine during the aging in oak barrel. And so keeping in the full control of that process give us the possibility that the winemaker and the barrel maker have a close communication, so the winemaker can tell the barrel maker, okay, for this, because of the conditions of this year, because of the type of wine we want to make, they can be very precise in terms of the type of oak, the fire toast of the oak. So that we think it's very, it's critical to find the balance we want for the wine.
Could you give an example of, a wine and how do you match the toast level, or how do you dictate the toast level? Is it something that can be explained?
Yes, well, just 1 second, please.
Sure.
It's let's say if we think about the Torre Muga, for example, okay, the Torre Muga compared to other wines in our range is a wine that has more concentration, has more power, more muscle, and also because during and after the fermentation there has been more maceration, so the wine is more concentrated, and that allows to have a higher, for example, fire toast degree in the oak, okay, because that wine is going to accept maybe more intensity in terms of the oak aromas,
Right.
and also during the aging of that wine, okay, you are going to be able also to use more new oak than for other wines, and that's because of what I was saying, of the style and the concentration and that wine has, okay, because it's very important for us to find the balance between the fruit, between the acidity, the freshness, between the alcohol, okay? So in the example I was giving you for the Torre Muga, if I use the same type of oak and the same type of fire toast, degree of fire toast I use for Eduardo Muga for another wine that is not so concentrated, so powerful, then you won't find that balance because the oak aromas are going to be more present than the fruit or the freshness of that wine, and that's something you don't want. Yeah, or you want always, you look always for the elegance and the balance. So that would be an example.
I see. Well, just briefly going back to gravity. So you were talking about briefly about gravity earlier, and we do see more and more wineries that they are reusing that, whether is it traditional or with high technological help. Do you have, a clue why this process seems to be resurfacing? Because it's a very age-old traditional method, isn't it? Gravity.
Yes. Well, I mean, in our case, when we talk about the gravity, it's because we talk about the gravity mainly for the racking of the canteen during the oak aging, and for us, the gravity is the more is a natural, is the system that we think it's better for the wine in terms of less aggressive for the wine, because you don't have to move it with a pumping machine. So that's going to be, wine. It's a living being, well, being it's a living element, and you don't want to be too aggressive with the pumping system. So using a gravity system is going to be more natural and less aggressive for the wine.
I see. But what about your fermentation process? Is there any difference between Muga's processes that sets you apart from the other wineries in Rioja around the region?
Well, in our case, the fermentation, we for generations we have used, it's a spontaneous. It starts spontaneously, so we don't use added yeast. So the fermentation is going to start with the yeast that comes from the vineyard that you have in the around the skin of the grape. So that's gonna, for many years it has started spontaneously, and that's the way we like to keep it, because of also of the climate conditions we have during the harvesting time. Usually we don't have problems with that.
Okay. Well, just a few more questions and then we'll wrap up the interview. So do you have any other varietals that you enjoy outside of Spanish wines?
You mean my personal taste?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You have to be
Well,
honest.
yes, we haven't talked. We haven't. No, we haven't talked. Well, in terms of in terms of our wines, what we use and what are the varieties most used in Rioja. We are talking for reds. The main grape is the Tempranillo.
Yes.
But the traditional blend in Rioja is that Tempranillo is the main grape, but then you have a blend also with Grenache, with Mazuelo, and with Graciano. Okay, so that has been a typical blend for Rioja that gives also that character to the Rioja wine, and gives also that elegance and balance to the wines. Okay, the Tempranillo is a very good grape to age and very elegant, and then all the other grapes add something to the Tempranillo, like freshness, like acidity, like so. It's a very nice blend that has been working very well for many generations. And in terms of whites, it's the Viura, also called Macabeo in other areas, is the main grape, and we also use some white Grenache, Garnacha Blanca, and Malvasia. Okay. We are big defenders of using local grapes because we think those are the grapes that have been growing in our soil, in our terroir for many generations, and adapted very well to our conditions, and also give a lot of personality and differentiation when you want to market your wines and to sell your wines. Using your local grapes gives you also differentiation and personality to the wines. And in terms of other wines, I mean, I have I love trying and tasting wines from other parts of the world. And if we talk, I think sometimes if I think, sometimes I think more about regions than about grapes. But you talk to me about grapes, you know, in all the area, all the Cabernet, Merlots you can find in Bordeaux, you know, those are, you know, that's an area where I find, you know, beautiful and excellent wines too. Bear in mind that we are from Bordeaux. We are from where we are located in Aro, in the north of Rioja. Driving, we are like 3.5 hours to 4 hours driving to Bordeaux. So historically, there has been also a lot of connection with that area. Okay, and also in terms of white, for example, you know, just we are. I like also to try different type of wine, but Riesling could be, you know, it's also some wines that I like. But as I said, I mean, when you look at the map of the world, and it's, you need several lives, you know, to try to taste, you know, all the wines you have around. And I think it's yeah, I encourage people, you know, that they should try wines from different areas. And of course, for those that are not so familiar with Rioja, you know, Rioja is one of the great regions in the world, and I think they would be surprised by the elegance, the freshness of the wines, and also by how good they age. So those are wines that you can. The philosophy in Rioja is that you can put those wines. When we put those wines in the market, it's because they are ready to drink. But you can also keep them in part of it. You can drink it, and part put it in the cellar, because they are going to age beautifully and very well. We are now still drinking wines from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s, and they excellent wines. Obviously, they are not in the same. They evolve and they change a little bit the character of the fruit or the aromas, but very, very interesting to drink.
Yeah, I think in Singapore, it's actually, we have a big following for heavy reds. So I think Rioja definitely should be an option to try. Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. And you would be, I think, you would be surprised about the variety we have in terms of styles. All of them, I was saying before, that they have the common soul of Rioja, which I think it's wines that are very. I mention a lot the word elegance and balance, because I'm very drinkable, because I think that's important. We produce wines because we want people to enjoy them, but also you are going to find that depending on the area you are, or depending even in the same area, depending on the vineyard you are going to use, the winemaking methods you are going to use, you can find wines with, in our case, the Gran Reserva Pradonea. It's more of a classical style of Rioja. And when we talk about the Torre Muga or Selección Especial, those are wines a little bit more rich, with a little bit more fruit, but still also with that elegance and that balance. So Rioja, you have, you know, you can find a great variety of styles.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, all right. I think that's all the time we have today. But for our listeners, we do have a coupon code for Muga wines, of course. So do check us out in the description. And Eduardo, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an amazing journey, just listening to you describe, you know, the wines and the vineyards. So I'm sure our listeners will greatly appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And I really, you know, it's nice talking to you, but I really encourage, I know you are far away, but I really encourage people to come and see us, because not only the wine, but also the landscape, the food, the culture, it's fantastic here in Rioja. So you are more than welcome to visit us when you want.
Yeah, once travel opens up, we should plan something and have some people come together and visit you.
Please, it would be, you know, it would be my pleasure to welcome you.
All right. Thank you so much, Eduardo.
Thank you, Germaine.
Thank you.